This is going to be for the people who are codependent, who have troubles letting go, who always try to prove that you're a good person. This video is for you because I want to share with you the vibration of not giving a fuck and how much of a beautiful gem it is. In a good way, of course. So, what I want to share with you today is 3 ways to raise your standards when you finally had enough with repeating the cycles in relationships, friendships, and even the ways of being. And this video, I guarantee you, will be the video you've been waiting to listen to. Because if you feel like you had enough with how you've been treating yourself and how you allowed life to treat you, then you'll realize the importance of knowing your worth and setting the motherfucking standards. What is good, you beautiful awakened ones? Welcome back to my channel. If you're new to this channel, welcome. My name is Brittany Fontanez. I am a intuitive shaman healer. I'm a psychic tarot reader. On this channel, I speak about spiritual development. I talk about emotional awareness, and I do guided readings for each zodiac sign. And I talk about things I feel need to be talked about because our divine right to know more than what we've been told, to heal ourselves, and to understand the purpose of why we exist. And you know what? Today I had a day. Today I had a motherfucking day. A motherfucking day. It was not a bad day. It was not a bad day. Is it okay to have bad days? Absolutely. Motherfucking. Ooh, my language is going to be volatile today. But what I mean by I had a day, I really had enough with my own bullshit. And if you haven't watched my recent video of how to cope with your bullshits, then go check out that video. I'll leave a link up here and actually at the end of this video. But I feel that today was the day I really was truly awakened to what I have been tolerating in my life. Now, like I said, this video is going to be for people who have codependency issues, codependency wounds, abandonment wounds, who have troubles letting go, and honestly, trying to prove that you're a good person and to feel like you're the best option for people, for friends, for anyone in general in life, and even including yourself. But today I had one of those days where I just had enough. I really started to see the patterns that were repeating in friendships, in my relationship dynamics, and even with myself. The kind of habits I'm still living by, the beliefs I'm still living by, the type of relationships I'm still attracting, and also the friendships that I'm even trying to create that are repeating in this cycle that I'm tired of. And so you might be feeling the same way. Now, what I mean by this is that what I mean by codependent and, abandonment wounds and, we're seeing your repeating cycles. What I mean by this is that you're starting to realize your patterns and why you attract certain people and certain things into your life because of your way of being. And I was in this state today where I just had enough. And I feel like you're probably in that state too. That's probably why I'm doing this video, is because you had enough of what you have been feeling like this is what you should tolerate, and realizing that's how you've been thinking, that's what you deserve. So I want to share with you 3 ways to raise your standards. And raising your standards, I want you to understand, do not feel guilty when you finally choose you. Do not feel guilty when you want to put you first. And do not feel guilty when you don't want to give the way that you used to, that people are used to you doing. I want you to understand, when you learn these 3 ways of raising your standards, you will start to realize how important it is to have boundaries. And when you have boundaries, that's the easiest way to know if people really respect your worth and who you are as a person. Now, before we get into the 3 ways of raising your standards, I want to share with you some examples. So say you're in a relationship where you're not happy and it's an on and off relationship. And no matter what, you feel like you can make it work every time you guys come back together, and it still does not change. But you stay in that toxic cycle of repeating this on and off relationship that's never getting nowhere, no growth, no reciprocation. But you feel like you have to stay in it. And even when you're not with this person, you feel like you have to keep them in your life because you feel bad. That is a way of you lowering your standards and allowing to teach someone to treat you that way, in a form of disrespect. So when you continuously tolerate something over and over and over, you're teaching someone how to continuously disrespect you. Now let's get into friendships. Friendships where you're always there for the other person, and the other person may be there for you too. But when it comes to a point when they were there when you needed them, but they're not there when you need them, and then all of a sudden things start to switch up, things start to feel awkward, things start to feel stagnant. That's how I felt today too. And I had to realize with this particular person, it's just like, I can't be emotionally attached. And we get emotionally attached because we desire to have someone to care for us. And when it comes to friendship dynamics like that, where you attract people who are emotionally unavailable, who are moochers to me are people who just actually use. And then people don't have to use you just for your money and for your things. They could use you for your energy or for your time. There's a huge difference. So that's one way in friendships. Now with yourself, you may be realizing you want to change your life, and you're starting to awaken to these habits that you keep cycling through, whether it's staying on your phone for too long when you get out of work, when you want to work on certain projects, when it's like watching porn or being addicted to these certain things, and you continuously repeat these cycles, and you feel like the next day, I haven't gotten anywhere. And you're starting to realize you're having enough with what you've been tolerating in your life. And like I said, this is regarding relationships, friendships, and ways of being. Now, since I went through these examples, I really, really want to assure to you that just please, whatever you do, don't feel guilty. Don't feel guilty because you finally want to choose yourself, because all your life you've been abandoning yourself for others. You've been abandoning yourself for approval. You've been abandoning yourself because you want to be seen. I'm here to share with you, no more of that. And it's okay to feel like you had enough with that. And this is why I want to share with you 3 ways to raise your standards. Because when you learn to raise your standards, you will start to realize how not only to fill up your own cup, but you start to realize your worth to the point that people gonna have to show up on your level in order for them to be in your life. And there's nothing to feel guilty for that. Because the majority of the time when we abandon ourselves for so long in our life, we start to feel guilty for choosing ourselves. But you have to understand, no one's going to love you the way that you have to love you. That is your job and your responsibility. Self-love is a fucking responsibility. And when you start to realize the importance of this, you will never feel like you have those moments where like, enough of this. You will start to have good discernment on who is worthy of your time and your energy, and what is worthy of your time and energy, and how to use it wisely, and how to give it in a way with who deserves it. And never ever feel guilty by thinking that you know your worth and who is worthy of that. Because here's the thing, when you know your worth, you get what you deserve. But when you don't know your worth, you get what you feel you deserve. Even if you're unconscious of it, even if it is toxic, there's a huge difference between the two. So let's get into 3 ways on how to raise your standards. Now, the first way to raise your standards is understand the importance of boundaries. I know this is very simplistic, but like I said, boundaries are so important. For me, I grew up always being told what to do, being demanded, being physically abused by a sibling, being verbally abused by a sibling, by even family, by even parents, being emotionally manipulated into doing things I didn't want to do, And, I was always a giver, giving. There was never a point in my life where, and I'm a generator. That is my human design. I am a generator. If you don't know your human design, go look it up. But I am a generator, so I'm always generating. I'm always generating new ideas, new ways of thinking. I like to solve problems. But in this state of my emotional self, of my good heart, it got to a point where I let people walk all over me. I let people use me to the point that when people bounced or ghosted me, I thought there was something wrong with me. I thought I did something wrong. And you may feel that way too. But I'm here to share with you, enough of that. Enough of that. Because the way a person treats you has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with them. But what has something to do with you is if you're going to tolerate that or not. And all my life, I tolerated people just abusing me, emotionally abusing me, using me. And you know what? Here's the thing. I can't blame those people. This is why we got to have boundaries, because we can't blame people for how they treat us, because we're tolerating that in our lives. This is why it's important to have boundaries with people and yourself. So the first way to raise your standards is understand what boundaries are and how to implement them. And the way to implement them is realizing what are things in your life that you do not like about yourself and about what you attract in your life and the type of people. What is it you don't tolerate? You don't tolerate complaining? You don't tolerate, bad habits? You don't tolerate wasting your time? You don't tolerate, someone who's conceited? Whatever it is you don't like about yourself or about what you attract in people, then that's where you need to set a boundary. For example, for relationships, if you have someone who is in and out and you just give them that chance immediately. Instead, the way to set a boundary is be intentional. What is their intention coming through? And make them work for it. Yeah, boo-boo, make them work for that ass. Make them work for it. Or even then, do whatever you can to detach from them. And I know that takes time. But what's beautiful is learning how to be loved for who you are rather than for who you are not. And when you can do that, then people will have no choice but to see you how you want to be seen. So that's the first way to raise your standards, is understand what boundaries are and what you don't like about yourself and life and people, and start to set a boundary towards that. Do things you never done before to get a different result. So if you never set boundaries, now's the time to do. And it's going to feel uncomfortable because you're learning how to love yourself. And when you haven't been used to loving yourself, it's going to feel foreign. It's going to feel weird. It's going to feel like a guilt trip. But when you start implementing it and you start realizing the goodness that comes out of it, you start realizing that you're finally choosing you over people who would never choose you, to the point that you're going to start choosing things that do choose you. So first way to raise your standards is boundaries. Now the second way is to raise your standards is by not giving a fuck. I know. I say that on a good way. I say it on a good way. I'm a Capricorn. And I come off like I naturally have a resting bitch face. And people think there's something wrong. And I'm like, no, I'm happy. My face is relaxed. That's all it is. And I'm a Capricorn. So a lot of people think that we're just cold in general. I have a very, very good heart. I have such a big, big heart. To the point when you could see me in person, I look like a kid. Because my inner child is still alive. It's so alive that I am vulnerable. I am a sensitive person, and I have no shame in that. Do I get mad? Do I get angry? Do I get very, very lofty in my words, even though I say things very spitefully, even though I don't mean it? I'm just fucking honest and raw. Yeah. But it just means that I have a lot of hurt. That's all it is. And I want it to be known. I want it to be seen because I have a right for that. But the vibration of not giving a fuck is so freeing. And I don't mean like, this is what I mean by not giving a fuck. To me, there's a difference between being nice and being kind. Being nice is abandoning yourself to comfort someone else. Being kind, though, is being motherfucking real. I'll be kind to you because I know that's immoral. And that's what divine, that's what the universe desires from us, is to be kind to one another. But if you're not respectful to me, best believe you don't deserve my kindness anymore. To the point that I wouldn't even talk to you. I don't even look in your motherfucking way. And we shouldn't feel guilty for that. Because when you know your worth, and you know what you have to offer, and you know the heart that you hold, you know damn well it's deserving of someone who's going to honor it. And if you got people who don't honor that, then apue. But it doesn't mean you have to continuously waste your time. Doesn't mean you have to tolerate their bullshit, their toxicity. Just walk the fuck away. Clean your hands of that. And realize that it's okay not to give a fuck. It's okay to have a good heart. But you got to understand, sometimes we're going to be a villain in some people's stories. And sometimes we're going to be a bad person to some people. But here's the thing, we're not meant to vibe with everyone. That's why it's okay not to give a fuck. Because when you realize that not caring is more freeing than caring and feeling guilty and feeling like a bad person, then there's a huge difference between the two. And what I mean by this is that you can give, how can I say this? You don't have to give a shit. You can still care and not give a shit. For example, you could wish the best for an ex or for an ex-friend. Wish them the best, but they don't have to sit at your table. That's what I mean. The vibration of not giving a fuck is you not attaching to people, things, and ways of being that don't serve you. That's the way to raise your standards, is by detaching from things that made you feel less than, that made you feel neglected, that made you feel not worthy. Like for me, for example, I have family members I don't even talk to no more. I even blocked my own mother on social media. I know that may sound wrong. This is not out of bitterness. This is not out of spitefulness. This is out of authenticity. If you're not going to honor me, if you're not going to respect me, you don't deserve a place in my life. But don't mean I have to hate you. But it does mean I don't have to give a fuck about you if you don't give a fuck about me. Just plain and simple. Just plain and simple. So that's the second way to raise your standards, is by realizing you don't have to give a fuck. That's why God is here. That's why God is here. God does the job of caring for all its children. But what we have to do is learn to love ourselves and to choose things that choose us and to be all right with not caring. You can love from afar, but you don't have to like, and you don't have to tolerate. So that's the second way of raising your standards, is learning how to not to give a fuck, meaning learning how to detach and realizing the freedom that comes with detachment. Because it's not your job to be responsible for people's happiness. It's not your job to take care of people. It's not your job to solve people's problems. It's not even your job to hold on to the burdens of the past that you've been holding on to from your childhood and from your parents' bullshit and from what people are going through or the world is going through. Your only job is to recognize what's the discord within you, and we're getting that discord back into alignment. That is your only fucking job. Until you feel like your cup is overflowing, yes, give. Yes, give. But if it's not overflowing, boo, make sure you fill that cup up. And have the discernment to set your boundaries and to let people know, listen, I'm not in a place to care right now. Not mean I don't care. It just means I need me. That's it. So last but not least, the third way, I said two, third. The third way of raising your standards. This has been a really hard one for me. I'm learning is realizing it's okay not to be liked. I know this may sound weird as a way of raising your standards, but the third way of raising your standards is being okay with not being liked, being okay with not being chosen. Because here's the thing. Like I said before, you're not here to be liked. You're not here to be loved by everyone. You're here to be loved for who you are, not for who you are not. And the third way of raising your standards is learning how being accepting of not being the option. And what does this have to do with standards? This has everything to do with standards. Because accepting of not being chosen is you understanding the fact that you're not meant for everyone or for everything. And that's okay. But it doesn't mean you're not lovable. It means you're still lovable. It means you're still worthy. And that's what we got to recognize. Sometimes we don't recognize how worthy and lovable we are. We sometimes think when a friend don't choose us, when a partner doesn't choose us, when a precise person doesn't choose us, we think there's something wrong with us. What if divine, whatever you want to believe in, the universe, divine, God, what if that higher power loved you so much that the reason why you got rejected, the reason why you got neglected, the reason why you walked all over, why you were used. So one, to teach you a lesson to understand your value and your worth. But two, what if all those things happen because it's not that because you weren't worthy, it's because those people and those ways of being and those things were not worthy of you. Majority of the time, rejection is God's protection. Rejection is redirection. Oh, let me do it. Neglection is redirection. Rejection is God's protection. Change is a way of loving thyself. So the third way of raising your standards is accepting not being chosen, not being an option, and being okay with that. Because when you can be okay with that, that's when you start to really understand your worth. That's when you start to gain clarity on, wow, I don't want to be with that type of crowd anyways because they don't teach me how to grow. You know, I don't want to be in that relationship because that person didn't really like me in the first place, because if they did, they would have showed up correctly on the first day. Or they would have, forgiven me the way that I've forgiven them, reciprocated the way that I reciprocated. And accepting the fact that there are parts of me that are going to take some time to change, but if I love myself enough to commit to it, I can make the change. It's just a matter of how much do I love myself. And accepting the fact that there are things I don't like, but it's okay not to like them, but I do love them because it is who I am. Realize that the third way to raise your standards is by being okay with not being the option, with not being chosen, and even being okay with taking time out to heal and making significant changes. That takes a lot of strength and courage to do so. So, beautiful beings, everything I just shared with you today, I know life is getting to a point where you just had enough of your own bullshit, of other people's bullshit, of life's bullshit. But here's the thing. When you get to this point, this is where you start to recognize your worth. When you start to get clarity on what you want. When you start to really question, what do I deserve? And let me tell you, when you get to this point, it's going to be so magnificent. Because you start to realize all the suppression that's been bottled up is going to come to the surface. It's going to hurt. It's going to be painful. It's going to be a little dark. But when it comes to the surface, you're going to feel relieved that you're finally recognizing, like, damn, I've been tolerating all this shit because I thought this is what I deserve. Now you could actually do the inner work and the external work to start making the changes that are opposite from that. Where you thought you deserved all this toxicity, and you start realizing, listen, I'd rather be alone and be at peace rather than be in a crowd and be in chaos. So I guarantee you, when you start to apply these ways to learn how to raise your standards, it will feel a little lonely, but here's the thing. You're creating space for not only what's new, but what is divinely meant for you, that is healthy, that is loving, that is fruitful. And this video is for the people who are on this journey, who choose love, who want to see the new earth, who want change. And I guarantee when you start applying these ways of raising your standards, everything is going to come to you so swiftly. It's like you wouldn't even need a manifest. You wouldn't even need the law of attraction. All you'll realize is like, damn, I am so damn loved by something bigger than this world. And that's all you will ever seek, is the love of divine rather than the love of the artificial world. Because divine knows your heart. Divine knows you better than anyone. And when you start to honor the way that divine sees you and start to see yourself that way, the world has no choice but to see you that way. And that is how you start raising your standards. That is how you start expressing your worth. And that is how you start honoring and being open to receiving what you rightfully deserve, rather than what you think you don't deserve. So other than that, you beautiful beings, that's all I want to share with you. 3 ways on raising your standards, how not to give a fuck, but to just because you get to this point of feel like you're had enough, then that's when you need to learn to raise your standards. But now, you beautiful beings, if you found this video very informal, if you found this, awakening your emotions and dealing with what's going on with inside, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification button. Let me know your confirmations or activations that you received through this video in the comment section below. I would love to connect with all of you. And if you do need any guidance through understanding your emotions and understanding how to make these changes and knowing your worth, then go to the link in the description of this video and book a session with me today, either a reading or a healing session, whatever fits best for you. I have so many services that you can go check out. Go check that out on my website. The link will be in the description below. But other than that, you beautiful beings, I love you so much, and there is only love for you.